Okay, we're recording our session now. This is going to be part two, and again, our expert is here tonight, Yelena, who can walk you through it. Remember, this is our first semester using this software. It's not totally unfamiliar from what we used before called Watson Analytics, but it does have some differences. But again, the only admonition I can give, and you'll hear us repeat this over and over again, you've got to get in and spend some time with it, try some things, practice, practice, practice. It's like all software. At first, it looks rather cloudy and fuzzy. And then after you use it, you say, oh, I see what it's doing. And the ability to do the what and then step back a little bit and say, now, what have I done is important. So you don't want to bog down into the weeds. So the only way to unbog yourself is to go try things and learn how the software works. Then you can focus a little bit on what you've got. When you build a presentation or you build a model or something, we do expect some analysis of what you have when you have it. We're not just trying to teach you to hit keystrokes. We want you to be able to interpret what you come up with to a degree, and that's something you'll grow into throughout the course of the entire MSDA program. Having said that, I will turn it over to Yelena. And
Right.
remember, you will have a copy of the slides, and you will
Mm-hmm.
also have a link to the recording.
Yes. So, good evening, everybody. And this is our agenda for tonight. We're going to focus on dashboards and infographics and work with visualizations, relationships among them, on the filters and appearance and so on. Then I'll show you how to export your dashboards into a story and how to create a new story from scratch. And guess what? I have some advanced calculations for you. Then I'll show you where to look for the samples, okay? The sample stories. All right, so just a quick reminder, you want to avoid using the browser back button, and the reason is you may lose your work. There is no recycle bin. If you delete something, it's gone. And also, unfortunately, there is no autosave at the moment, so you have to keep on saving your work, okay? Now, what have we done so far? So far, you have been working on just the exploration, right? So basically, you wanted to create a model, you wanted to get a quick question about something. But we have not talked about presenting the results, right? If you notice that you could not change colors, you could not adjust any formatting, and so on, right? So we have our findings. Right now, we're going to focus on presenting our findings, creating stories, creating beautiful presentations, right? So, and the good thing is that you're going to reuse the visualizations that you created for assignment 3 in assignment 4. So assignment 4 is going to build on assignment 3. So what you would want to do is this here, right? And I'm going to open my exploration. This is an exploration we created during the last session. What I want to do is I want to be able to reuse my visualizations from exploration in my displays, right? So this is what I'm going to do. Pay attention. I'm going to select this card, right? This is a card. I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to click on this pin. See this? I pinned it. It says processing. What it will do is, this is a set of pins, and it would make it easier to reuse your visualizations. All you have to do is open up the pins and drag and drop to your display, okay? So now it says processing. Sometimes it could take a little bit of time. But the idea I'm trying to show is that you can reuse the explorations that you did for assignment 3 into the presentation you create in assignment 4, all right? So what are we going to do right now is this. We're going to create dashboard, right? So there is more than one way to create dashboard. You need to access the data set. It's going to be under My Content, or if you used it recently, it might still appear in the recent, and you're going to select Create Dashboard. So let me go back here, and let me go back to the home page. This is what I'm going to do. This is my data set, right? Oops, as you may remember, last time we worked in a data set with claims and weather. So that's basically you want to estimate the total claim amount, right? That's what we worked on. So right now I'm going to open the actions menu and I'm going to choose create dashboard. See this? This is a create dashboard. Now, next thing what I have to do is I have to make a decision here. And I outlined the differences for you. Dashboard has multiple tabs. You can group visualizations, perhaps like on subtopic on each tab. You can apply filter to all tabs, or you can apply filter to a single tab, right? And this is an infographic. Infographic is basically a single page, okay? For today, we're gonna focus on the tab dashboard because tab dashboard can be easily converted into a story. Now, you have different types of layouts, right? So here, those are sort of called predefined, right? Like 2x2. The main difference is that if you select any of this, it will rescale, the visualizations will rescale based on the size of your monitor, based on your screen size, right? If you select this one, there'll be no rescaling, okay? So what I'll do now, I'll select 2x2, it's one of my favorite, right? And I'm gonna click on OK. So this is what's happening right now. This is a canvas, right? This is my first tab. And I can put 4 visualizations, right? I can put 4 visualizations nicely here. So what I did for you is I put a nice summary. So here are 2 ways, right? You can access. I used the way to, I used it from the recents in my case. And here I summarized the different dashboards for you. Like you have a tab or you have an infographic, right? But keep in mind, both are interactive. And you use what I just did. I use the predefined layout template. You may change how a visualization look like. Then also, unlike exploration, dashboard has a view mode and edit mode, right? So sometimes you open a dashboard that you started working on and you cannot make changes. And the reason is because you have to switch to the edit mode, right? So here, what I did was I wrote down about the templates. So see that you have free-form template and you have out-of-the-box templates, right? And there is some difference, predefined design and so on, right? So if you use the free form, then you may need to scroll because it does not rescale, all right? So let me go back now. What I'm gonna do now is I can put an object in each one of these, right? And I have several ways to add visualizations. One way to do that is from my pins. Do you remember what I did? I saved it in my pins, right? I saved some visualizations in my pins so that I can easily just do this. I can drag and drop. But take a look at it. I have to put my cursor on top of the arrow, right? Then my visualization will resize. The size of the visualization will match this size right here, this, right? So I don't need to worry about the layout. I just drag and drop, right? So that's one way. Another way, I could just add a brand new visualization, right? I can add a brand new visualization like this. Well, let's see. Let's say I want to do the where is our, okay, I want to do this one, the tree map, for instance, right? Or the heat map. Look, okay, I picked up the tree map. Well, okay, now what you can do is you can specify which fields you want to use, right? So this is called data slots. If you see the asterisk, it means the slot is required, right? Now, suppose that I selected the tree map and I realized it's not what I want. I can click on the arrow in here and I can do all visualizations, and then I can change. I can always change my visualization type, right? So I wanted to do the heat map, right? So this is what I wanted to do. There we go. Now I need to specify rows, columns, and a heat. But see this one is required, right? And I want to work on a total claims amount. But before I do that, let's remember that I'm interested in this case in the average total claim amount. I'm not interested in the sum of all claims, right? So let's do this. And this will be saved for the whole dashboard. I'm gonna click here, total claims amount, and I'm gonna do the properties. And I'm going to change the aggregation to an average. So see this, and I'm gonna do the close. The reason I set it here is because I want it to be everywhere. I don't want to look at the total, right? I want it to be applied to the whole dashboard, not just to single visualization. So now what I'm gonna do is this. I drag and drop. Right now, this is going to show an overall average, right? Did I specify what I want to do for the rows, for the columns? No, I did not. But I know that this is required, right? So the required means that you have to specify something or nothing will show. So right now I'm going to pick something like perhaps claim reason, right? And I'm going to make my columns as policy. Okay, so this is my visualization. Now what I can do is, before today, you could not change how it looks like, but now I can. I would click over here, this is a property. And here, well, first thing you notice that you could change the color, right? So that's gonna be in the chart. Well, in the chart, you can pick if you want to show the grid lines, which in case I do. And here, I think that you can change this palette, right? You can change here you can change the heat pattern. So for example, I want to do the green one. There we go. So I can change it now, right? Or I can control how my X's are, right? I can show the title, I can hide the title, etc. So basically now I have some control, right? And if I wanted to, I could add a border and so on, right? So this one, so to close the properties, you can click here, this will close it. What this is called right now, I'm in a focus mode. This is called visualization focus mode. I'm going to click on this arrow now to minimize it, right? And notice that you have a border right now. That's because I said that I want to do. If I unclick visualization, if I unclick the visualization, what I could do is I could specify the properties for the whole tab here, such as page size, and if I want to see the grid, and so on. So these properties are going to be applicable to the whole dashboard, okay? The colors and so on. So I could do that, right? Now, what else you could do here is you could add text. This is something that you could not do in your explorations. So to do that, I click here, and I'm gonna just drag and drop, right? And notice that I'm gonna hold it on top of this, right? I hold it on top of it, and I'm gonna put something like, I love data 610. Okay, I love data 610. Now, what you could do here, you have more than one way. Now you have this little toolbar, which remain visible once you have this selected, right? So what you could do this. You can change the font. You can change the font here, right? I change it to 14, for instance. You can adjust. You can change the text color and so on, right? You did not have this before. See? And I can change the fill color, I can change the border color, opacity, etc. So now, even though this layout is predefined, you may still change it, right? You may still change stuff. Like for instance, I can put one visualization on top of the other, and so on, right? Now, what else you can do? Another way to add visualization is, do you remember this little friend from last time? It's also available in here. it's also available from dashboard. However, the difference is that it only can be accessed here. You cannot access it on the right side of the screen. It's only here. So now, what you could do is you can do this. Remember, show data, right? That will show us all the data sets we have. Now I'm clicking on what I want, the data set I want to see. Then here I've got my columns listed in the property. I can click on total claim, right? Now it suggests visualizations for me, and I can just do this. I can just drag and drop. So for instance, I want to look at the total claim by location code, and now I can just, well, it will give me the option. See this is a set of visualizations. So basically, I have what I had before, but the only thing that I don't have is that I cannot access this guy from the top right. Okay, so look at this. I can just do this, drag and drop, right? So here is my first tab. Now, this is very important. What you want to do is this. You want to make sure that you have descriptive names here. And you want to make sure that the visualizations that you put on the same tab are somehow like, well, not quite related, but that's something that goes together with each other. Like for instance, I'm not gonna have one visualizations where I explore the relationship between income and employee status, and another visualization where I'm looking at the total claim amount and something else like monthly premium, right? Well, what you see on one tab, what you have on one tab, you want it somewhat related, and you want to give it a descriptive name, right? So that's the reason I want you guys to watch this video before you start working on assignment, so that you do it in a way to save time later. Okay, so this is my tab for one, right? Let me I'm gonna intentionally name it like this, and I'll show you why later. This is intentional, okay? So now I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to add another one. I'm going to add another tab now. Here it is, right? And I'm going to pick the same template. Now look at this. If I don't have to keep the same template for each tab, I can use different templates if I want to. But let me do this, right? And suppose that I selected the template, and if I don't like the template that I selected, this is what I could do. I could click here, and here it gives me an option to still change template. I can change my template from here. See this? I can still access it. Okay, so if you choose the template that you do not want to choose by accident, you can still change it. And let me go ahead. I'm going to intentionally name it as a scene 2. Well, you'll see why I'm doing it later. Okay, this is intentional. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to add another visualization, but now I want all visualizations to have something in common, and I'll explain to you later as well. So let's see. Let's do this. Let's add a new one, right? I'm going to add the new one now, and what I'll do right now is this. I'll do the bar plot, right? I added the bar plot, and what I'll do now is this. I want to add the perhaps let's do this. Let's do the reason claim. Where is that? Well, I'll explain to you what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take this one, claim reason, and I'm trying to select the total amount, right? So this is a bar length. Okay, now I'm going to minimize it. So this is one plot. Now I'm going to do the same plot. Let's say, look, if you want to do similar plot, right, but perhaps different visualization type, what you could do is this. You can duplicate it, right? I duplicated it. Now what I'll do is I'll take a copy and I'm going to move it here. And now I'm going to change the visualization type. To do this, I'm going to expand that, taking it to the focus mode, and I'm going to I'm going to select different visualization, right? Perhaps I want to do this radial plot, right? This is what I want right now. But look at this, both of my plots have something in common, right? They have claim reason in common. So now I'm going to take this again, and I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm doing it for a reason. So I'm going to duplicate this again, and I'm going to move it here, right? And what I'll do now, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to check the different visualization type, different one. And well, we can do let's do the pocket bubble. Just, all right. Here as a color code, the darker color means the higher average claim. So I've got 3 visualizations. Let's see what I'm gonna do right now. Notice that, watch. I'm going to select this here. What happened? When I selected here, right, one data point, automatically it selects all, it makes the same selection in all plots, right? Notice that here on the same tab, I selected other, and other gets selected on the other 2 visualizations. So all visualizations are related. The visualizations that have the same field, they are related. Well, I believe it's that tab, because this tab here, oh, I have claim reason, but this is a different tab, right? So I'm looking at this tab. All visualizations are related, but I can break the relationship. Take a look at it. This is a link over here, right? Right now, all of this belong to a single group, right? So when I select a data point on the first visualization, the same data point gets selected in all visualizations, right? I can break it. And to do this, look, I selected this, and I can do this. I can click on this, break the link, okay? When I broke the link, it creates a different group. So even though I still have selected other in here, right? Here, it's no longer selected. So I can create my own groups of visualizations. I can break the link. So this is what I wanted to show you, right? It's probably easier to show when I use the same variable and just different visualization type. Now what I could do is this. I can select this. I can select this one. And I have an option. I can break it, make it its own, right? So that's a third group. Or now what I can do, I can add it to existing group, and I can select 1 or 2, right? So I wanted to do 2. So now these 2 guys are related, and this one is not. It's there by its own. So if I clear the filter here, it won't be, it will not be cleared at these 2, because I grouped these 2 together, and this one is separate. So you can group visualizations on if they have a common field, right? Selecting one data point here also selects the same data point in visualizations that belong to the same group. For instance, sometimes you may have a map, right? And you may have something else, another visualization that shows values by state. So sometimes I can perhaps select a state on the map, and the other visualizations get adjusted accordingly. So that's what it is, right? It becomes really useful. Now what I'm going to do is I wanted to undo. So here, what I'll do, I select this one, and I can bring it back. I can bring it back to my add to existing connection, and this is going to be 2. So now it becomes 1 because it's one group, right? Now what I could do is in both tabs I'm utilizing the claim reason, right? So now what I'll do is I'm going to unselect what I have selected, right? Oops. So I'm going to unselect. Oh, take a look. I still have this clicked. I still have relationship button clicked. I have to unclick it, okay? Now what I'll do is I'll remove this filter. I clear this filter here. So now I have it all selected, and I've got the claim reason in here and the total amount, right? So I've got two tabs here, and I also have the claim reason in here. So what I'll do right now is I'll try to filter this data. And to do that, I'm going here. So those are my fields in the data. And I'm going to filter by claim reason. And this time I'm going to do, well, here, I'm going to do this tab only. And now, look, I click here and I wanted to, I can select my values. Perhaps I want to look at only collision and hail, and I'm gonna click OK. What's gonna happen right now is my visualizations get adjusted accordingly, right? I only see the collision and hail. On the other hand, if I go to my second tab, I still see all of them, right? The filters that I just applied is not applicable to the second tab. And the reason is I put it on this tab only area. So what I'll do right now is I'm gonna do, no, you cannot do it this way, see? You have to do delete and then you have to re-add. I thought, I wished I could do drag and drop. No. So what you have to do now is this, you have to go back here, claim reason. You have to drag it here, and if you select here, hail and collision, like just an example, I'm clicking OK. What this will do now, it's going to filter both tabs, right? It's going to filter both tabs. Do you see that? So just remember it, you can apply the filter to all tabs or to a single tab, right? In this case, I have two tabs, so let's keep it two tabs, and let's delete this. Okay, I'm going to, oops, I want to just delete the filter. I don't want to delete my, what do you call, I don't want to delete the tab. So, well, first of all, we clear the values, right? Click OK, and then I guess I just select and delete. I can click delete, let's see if it does it. No, it does not. So I have to click on ellipses, delete filters, there we go, okay. Now, what I have is this, I have two tabs, right? Remember, two tabs, and each tab I can add more visualizations if I wanted to, right? I can do, now, first of all, I'm making a big mistake, all right? What mistake am I making? If the system goes down right now, right, or if my session becomes idle, I'm going to lose my work because there is no autosave. So what I have to do is I have to save as, and I realize this is difficult, but you always have to remember to select my content. And let's call it something meaningful. Let's call it something claim amount dashboard, right? I saved this claim amount dashboard, and I'm going to click on save. Okay, well, see, this is my dashboard. I will show you the shortcut that you are allowed to use for this assignment, right? It won't be the case for assignment 5 because you will have your teammate, you will be doing it as a team. But for this assignment, this is what you would do. You are going to create dashboard. Make sure that each tab has a meaningful name, and make sure that you group visualization on the same tabs that you really want to appear in the same scene. And I'll show you what a scene is. So what we talked so far, we just talked about the presentation, but there is no animations. I have not actually showed you the story flow, right? I have not showed you that, but what we're gonna do right now, we are going to create a story, right? For your assignment 5, you're going to create a story from scratch, and I'll show you that too. But for assignment 4, you're going to use this little shortcut. You're going to export your dashboard as a story, and then you're going to edit the timing and the animations, right? So here, this is what you're going to do, right? Watch, I'm gonna click on this, and now instead of save and instead of save it, I'm gonna select save as a story. Save as a story. Now, I have several options here. Slideshow uses different canvas for each slide. And this one's use the same canvas, but for right now, let's just pick the slideshow, right? And what you saw in the agenda slide, you saw this one, the last one. You saw a picture of this layout on the agenda slide, and you'll have it. Now, let's select the slideshow for right now. Imagine what's gonna happen now. Just think about it for yourself. What is gonna happen? What do you expect to see? So I'm going to click on select, right? So for right now, it's gonna ask me where I want to save it. And I always want to save it in my area. By default, it's gonna take the dashboard name, and it's gonna prefix it with story column, okay? And here, yes, I want to open the story when it's complete. Okay, now what I'll do is I do this export. I click on export, and it's gonna take me to the story. The story consists of scenes, right? And each scene has a timeline where I can show when my objects are visible, right? I can change the scene duration. I can change when each of these guys are visible, right? When it is, when it's not. And what else I could do is I could apply filters. So do you notice this similarity with the dashboard? I could apply my filters here. This also has the view mode and edit mode, right? So now I'm in the view mode, right? Oh no, I'm in edit mode. To toggle between a view mode and edit mode, you would have to click on this pencil. So right now I'm in a view mode. I unclick and I'm going to be in the edit mode, okay? At the bottom here, I see the sequence of my scenes. So this is the scene 1, this is my scene 2. At the top section, I see the scenes that I currently selected, right? Well, this is what you're going to do. You're going to have several tabs, and each tab is going to turn into a scene. And what you're going to do next is this. You're going to click here. When you click here, this will open the timeline, right? So each of these objects, for each of these objects, you can define when it starts and when it stops, right? When it appears, when it disappears. By default, all objects are visible for the whole duration of a scene. To change this, you would need to click on a corresponding, right? So here is my object, and this is the timing for that object. I can just go this, and I can drag and drop. So here, I wanted this to show at 1 second, right? And I want this disappear here, right? And I can complain. And I want my I love data 610, right? I want it to show at the end, so I can do it like this, right? The default duration is 5 seconds, but I can change that too. See this? By doing that, I'm changing the duration of the scene, right? I just drag and drop. Now, suppose that I'm done with editing this scene. I can minimize this, right? Now what I can do is I can play it. I can preview it. So this is a preview, right? I don't see the text because I had to minimize this. So now I'm gonna click preview again. See this? This one stays for the duration because I did not specify what I wanted to do with this, right? So now what you can do is notice that you can also preview the data, and you can have more than one. You can utilize more than one data set, right? visualization, your dashboard, and your story can be built with more than one data set if you need to. Now here you have settings. You can, when you preview, you can play all scenes. Yes, I think I see a question. Oops, I thought I saw a question. Let me see the chat. I don't see where it is, but I thought I had a question. You can speak up if you. Steve, I thought I saw a question, but then it disappeared. I don't know. Cannot open the chat. Oh, okay. Anyhow, out.
There's nothing in the chat at the moment.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Good. Okay, now here it is. What else I could do is I can change the transitions, right? I can change the transitions. So let's go back. We have to go back to the edit mode, and this is my scene here, and I can do this here. This is the properties, right? And well, this is a story type. So right now I'm in a slideshow, so that's what I want. I can change the transition. I can do the animated pass, right? So this is the transitions between the scenes. And I can do also the advanced settings, right? Color consistency and so on. And I can adjust my canvas, well, etc. If I want to show the grid or if I don't. Then something else you could do here is, if you may recall, when we looked at the dashboard, I showed you the visualization groups, how when you select a data point on one, the same data point gets selected on the others. You can also break groups here. See this? You have the same capability that you do on the dashboard, except the difference is that here you've got some animations. You got some animations, right? But you still can add new visualizations. You can still use assistant. You can still use your pinned visualizations, right? And you can still have access to your data, okay? You select what data you want to use, okay? Now, here you can play the whole thing. You can preview everything from beginning to end. But suppose that your dashboard had 2 tabs, right? You're not limited to 2 tabs here. You can add another tab. So to add another scene, you have to click on a plus, and that adds another scene. But for some reason, it added the title slide because I don't have a title slide. So you can also change the order. I drag and drop, right? And I can just put my title. Just an example, okay? So, but to delete this, I can click on this, right? Now, something else I'll show you. This, when if you select what you don't want to select, I'm unaware if there is a way to change, but I can click on this arrow here, and I'm able to select a template for my new scene. Now here, what I don't know how to do is, I'm not sure how to unselect. Like if I select something, I'm unsure if there is a way to change it. But notice that this thing here, most of these templates are similar, a little bit similar to what we had in the dashboard, right? Like I saw 4x4 somewhere. See this 4x4? I can select another 4x4. This adds a scene, right? Then what I do is I add the new visualization to every slot, right? Well, I don't have to have something in every slot, but I can just add. This is what you're going to be doing in your last homework assignment, the team assignment. You'll be adding it from scratch. Well, it could be not from scratch exactly, but you could be adding it from pinned. You can be adding it via using assistant, right? Or you can be adding the text. And also, I believe you can copy and paste visualizations from dashboards that you created, right? So let me save this. I believe I can do this. Look, I have this dashboard, right? If I wanted to, I can just do this, and I can do the copy. Oops. Oh, I thought I saw the tool. This tool here. You can use this to copy too. Well, nope. Oh, but if you just select it and go Control C, right? If you're using the Windows user, you can do Control C. Then you're going to go back here and you can do Control V. It should do it. Control C, Control V should do it, but I don't know why it didn't do it for me right now, but in general, it should do it. Now, what else you could do is you could add images, right? And so on. But actually, instead of copy and paste, what I recommend is this. I recommend pinning it. I can click here, and I believe I should still be able to pin it. Well, if not, then not. But if it's possible, when possible, you want to use pins, right? So that way it will be easier for you to reuse the visualization. But this is, unfortunately, there are no pins here. So that's another difference between the exploration workbook and the presentations here. Because when you create something in the exploration, it's reusable. You can pin it and then reuse it inside other presentations. But here, I don't see a way to pin it. If you see it, then good. But if you don't, then maybe that's not. Oh, wait a minute, right here. See this? It's here. I can do it here. See this? I pinned it. Now what it's gonna do is this. It's available in my pins. So I can go back to my story and I can reuse it. I can go back to my story and reuse it, right? Oh, it says process and pin. Okay. Sometimes it's a little bit slow. For some reason, process and pins is now slow. But anyhow, if you edit, if you pin it, if you edit here, then you can go back and you can reuse it on another display, right? That's one way. So basically, when you are finishing up your assignment 3, I want you to think about how you want to present your findings. Just think about it, okay? So probably you're going to present your models, and I believe you created 2 models, right? So what you could do is you can put one model on one tab and the other model in another tab, right? And here, notice that here what I have is that it says scene 1, scene 2. Those were my tab names, right? Remember, how did I create the story? I converted, I imported my dashboard, right, as a story. So here, this is the name of the tab. Whatever I had on the first tab, I had it on this scene. Second scene is what I had on the second tab. And I can, if I wanted to, I can apply filters and so on. And you can even pin visualizations here if you want, right? What else you could do is you could add the navigation path. If you may recall, on the last assignment, I showed you, on the last session, I showed you how to drill down, right? That part is applicable here also. So basically, you can do even more. You can also change the properties here. I selected this. Here are my properties, and I can go in and I can change the color, right? So here it is, this is my color, right? And you can change properties of the scene and etc. If you need to rename the scene, you can just click and rename. I think it's here, edit, and then it will give you, it will allow you to rename it, right? And you can keep on adding. You can keep on adding the scenes, and then you need to play to preview, right? Well, here this is a default. I did not specify the time when I want my object to appear. So by default, it's going to be visible through the duration of a scene, okay? And here I can see the data being visualized. Remember that. So this is kind of like available in all functionality over the board, right? So now I'm going to save this again. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a brand new story from scratch. So I'm going to go here, right? I'm going to go to the home page, And here again, I can take several approaches. I can get to my, well, look, if I go here, oops, no, that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to do. So let me do this, close it, and say don't save it. Close without saving. What I wanted to do actually is this. If you click on the action menu, you should, if you click on the action menu, you should be able to use that data to create the story. Come on. Okay, so I have to be like careful when I click here. This is called the action menu. Come on. Well, it's a little bit slow. Aha, see this sometimes. Well, once in a while you'll see it because well, it depends on what else you are doing, like network speed and so on. Usually my internet is fast, but right now, okay. So basically, when you click here, you should see an option to create a story, right? You should see an option story. Or I can click on new and select story. Come on. Well, you know, when the time comes for the most interesting part, it starts resisting. Oh, okay. I hope you guys don't lose me because I feel the laptop is, yeah. Anyhow, so this is what I was referring to. You're going to click on the new, and in the menu, you're going to select the new story. Like when you go here, so here you do create dashboard, but you also have an option to create story. You're gonna go, it's at the bottom, at the very bottom, you have a new menu, and then from the new menu, you're going to select new story. Like I'm doing it all the way all the way up somewhere. Okay. See this? I'm clicking on the new, and then I'm selecting new story. And after that, I have to select the transition style, right? Slideshow or a guided journey. But for the guided journey, I have several layouts, right? Several options. I'm not going to be able to show you all of them because otherwise we're going to stay here all night, okay? But I'm giving you the idea on what can be done. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to hope that this cooperates. Well, I know that the system is not down. It's a matter of my PC right now. So let me see. Let me reload this. Okay. So now I'm click on new and now it works. I'm going to click on new. I'm going to click on story. Okay. It's going to start the new story right now. Okay. Now I'm going to choose a transition style. And I can pick any of this, right? And I'm gonna do create. I'll let you guys explore it at your leisure. So for your assignment 5, you're gonna have to decide it as a group, okay? You have to decide it as a group. So this one, it shows the style, right? It shows the style. And these 4 tiles are pieces in this style, right? I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to be working with one at a time, right? I need to decide what goes on my first page. So usually your first page is going to be the title. So this is just your text, right? Something like that, right? Okay, here you're gonna put a subtitle. On the next slide here, you're going to add your visualizations and etc., right? Well, here, what this will do, you can just edit this thing. You can name this thing, right? Here is going to be the timing. Same thing that we did, right? Except you will have to do some homework. You'll have to add your own stuff in here, right? You'll have to add your own. And you can do this. Well, one thing that I have not done is that I have not selected the data that I want to use. So to do this, you have to click here, and I'm going to select a source. Notice that earlier what you did, the data source was already selected for us because we exported the dashboard into a story. When we did that, the data source, right, it automatically was selected from us because it was selected in a dashboard. So if you're doing it from scratch, you're gonna have to do all of this homework here. You have to select the data source. Well, in my case, it's going to be this, right? I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna click add, and it's possible to have more than one data source. Now what I'm gonna do, I'll have to work on each of these, one at a time. Here is a text, right? Text could be probably your brief description, right? Or here it could be your title. Like for example, if I want to do this, I can just go this and drag and drop total claim amount, and it's going to show me the average. It's just a default because it's picking up, it knows that it's a numeric. Ooh, see this what it did? I thought I changed it to average, didn't I? No, it's because I changed it to average only for the dashboard that I was working on. I didn't change it here. So what I could do is I could change properties and I can set it to, I want it average. I don't want the sum of all claims. Okay, close. And this is going to readjust. So here I can put a title, right? For instance, average claim amount, right? Oops. And here in the text, you're going to put your summary of insights. Well, you're going to have to type it. Well, it's just something like that, okay? I'm just giving you ideas. And see this here, there are 4 slides, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can always add. You can add, right? Like I can add one more. See this, it's going to be like this. Right? So this is how it's going to look like. So if I was going to preview, it's going, well, see this, now I'm trying to play, but there is nothing to play. It's because I did not define my slides. I did not define. So let's go back to edit mode, right? So here, this is what I have. I have 5 slides like this, right? So this is my layout. When I click here, I will see that it will show this one, this one, this one, this one, and that one, right? This is a sequence. Well, it's gonna look like this, right? It's gonna show this sequence like this. But in here, if you notice that on the agenda slide, I selected the last one. So all this, see this connecting line in between this, right? And it's gonna show first one, second, third, and fourth. So this is just a different style. But I'm showing you is a different style, okay? And this is going to be your decision, right? When I exported my dashboard, I could pick the style also, right? So this is how you do it from scratch. And I'm not gonna do the whole thing because otherwise, if I do the whole dashboard from scratch right now, you're going to sit here until morning. Okay, and then you're gonna save it, right? You can save it. I'm just gonna click cancel. Now, what I wanted to tell you is that you're gonna have 5 assignments. The last assignment is going to be the team assignment. One way I would recommend is that since you cannot explicitly have a shared folder, you cannot explicitly share your work with your classmates, right? So what you could do is this. One of you could share your login and password with the team, or you can one of you could create an account, right? And share the login credentials with your team members. So that way you can have access to the same account and do all the teamwork on the same account. You won't be able to work together at the same time, but you could take turns because this is a teamwork. So basically, one of you does one thing, another person does another thing. You're going to be coordinating, but you don't want to make 5 copies of the same presentation, right? So I recommend, and I'm going to talk to your teachers about that too. That idea just popped in my mind recently. What you could do is that either one of you shares your login, right, with the teammates, and you would probably have to give the credentials to TA if you need help from TA, right? Or you would need, you may probably want to give the credentials to your instructor too if you end up asking for help, right? And then check with the instructor how she wants it delivered, because here you've got the presentation, right? So somehow you want to demonstrate the transition between slides. It's going to be up to instructor whether she wants to log into your team account and play the animation, or if she wants you, he or she wants you to record, right? To record you playing the slides. I'll leave it up to instructor. It's going to be the instructor's decision. Another thing that you're going to do for the group assignment is that you're going to have a different set of data sets, right? So the data set that you use for assignment 3, you use for assignment 4. For assignment 5, there is a different set of data sets to choose from. And I'm also going to leave it up to instructor if the instructor wants to assign each group the data set from the list, or if you have a choice. I'll leave it up to instructor, but I believe it's in week 10 group course content, there is a list of data sets, new list. Some of the data sets have missing value. Now, what does the missing value means? It means that the value is not available, right? So basically, for the demonstration purposes, I have created like a dummy data set, and I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm going to upload it now, and I'll show you what I mean. Actually go new, and I'm gonna upload files. Let's see if I still have it. And I think I called it sales something. Product prices. And I saved it as I believe this one. Okay, so let's see, open. Okay. Well, what this is doing, I sort of like create a dummy data set with a missing value. Sometimes we want to look at the problem in isolation, so to speak, right? So while it's loading, let me show you the slides with what I'm talking about. Missing values. So here it is. See this? I have this table here, manufacturer, product, and price. And one of the price values is missing. Missing value is going to show as null, so the value is unavailable. There are different ways to handle missing values. Sometimes you want to filter out the rows that have missing value, but there is a danger of losing data, right? Sometimes if one of your fields is missing more than half of values, you just decide not to use that field, okay? Or sometimes you can impute missing values. Like for example, here, I don't know the price of Apple iPhone, but for the purpose of my demonstration, I can set the price of, I can set it to the average iPhone price. That was what I was doing on the slides. But to kind of like look at the problem in isolation, I'm creating different variables here. In one variable, here I want to calculate an average price of each product. Now, average calculation ignores missing value. So when I calculate the average iPhone price, right, the calculation will ignore that missing value. It will take an average of available iPhone prices and it will put it here, right? Well, it will put it here, this column. Well, no, sorry, it's this column rather. Average product price, right? So this one here, I'm just calculating average product price. This is just a calculation, right? Nothing else. Here, I want to check if the value is missing, right? So I create another variable and I say, I'm gonna call it is price available. And in here, I have an if statement. There is an operator that's called is null. It's in here, see this? I have operators and it's in a calculation. The operator has a value, and there is an operator that's called is null, right? And it's gonna return true if the value is missing, and it's gonna return false if the value is not missing, right? And basically, what I did in here, I put an if statement and I said if price is null, then I want to return it to yes. And if price is not, I want to return it to no, right? I just want to see what it's doing, that's it. But here, what I'm doing this. If price is null, I want to set the price to average product price. Notice that you can use a calculation inside another calculation, right? And you're gonna have this slide here. But I'm showing you what can be done, okay? So I prepared this slide because I in fear that what if the system will be down like we had over the weekend. So when the system came back up on Friday, I went ahead and created this slide. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'll show you where things are in here. So here is it. It's my product prices now, right? So I want to do the exploration, or you can do it in exploration, or you can do it in the dashboard also, okay? And you can you can add the calculation, okay? You can just do this, it does not matter. It does not matter. And I can just create a calculation. It's in here. See this? Well, you can add calculations. You can add calculations in a dashboard, or you can add calculations in the exploration. But my point here is that this, you can do create calculation, right? First thing that I did was I created the average price, right? So if I click on here, f of x, right? And here I can choose. In this case, I selected the summary, and the summary is going to be the average. This is the average. I selected an average, and then in here, what I did was I put the price, and I wanted to put this. I want to put this 4, right? Because I don't want to calculate the overall. I wanted to select the product, right? So that's going to be the average price of a product. And this, I called it, what did I call it? Average product price. So this is my average product price, right? Product price, right? This is what I did. And so doing so creates a calculation. Now, if I create a new calculation, I can use this calculation inside another calculation. And this is what basically I'm doing in that slide, right? And see this, if you click on the operators, here it is. These are your things like if, right? You've got an if statement here. You have the it is null and so on. But one thing that I need to tell you about the if statement is that you want to put it in parentheses. It took me some time to get it to work. It's because whatever you have after if needs to be in parentheses, what you have after then needs to be in parentheses, and what you have after else needs to be in parentheses, okay? Okay, so that's what it is. And another example here is the case statement. This is very complex. What I wanted to do, this is going back to our insurance data. Our insurance data, oops, this is the income. We have an income, and income is a numeric value, right? Suppose that I want to create a category. If the income is less than 20,000, I want to call it a poverty. If the income is between 2,000 and 45,000, I want to call it low income. And if it's between 45,000 and 120,000, I want to call it middle class, otherwise high income. So see this is a case statement, and I'm creating income category variable here, okay? Now this will just create another variable, and I can use the case statements, okay? I just wanted you guys to see that, right? So those are the advanced calculations that you have. Another thing that I wanted to show you here is this. Let me get back to my, let me go back here. Let me close the calculation editor. Now let me go back to the home page. Well, okay, here. I'll show you this again. I think I may have showed you before, but I need to show you this again because it's been a while ago. Let's look at this team content. Well, you cannot share your files with your team members here, but what you could do is this samples. You could look at the samples, And the reason is sometimes you might not be quite sure what you want to do. So sometimes it's always a good idea to look at the examples and see here, I can look at my sample stories perhaps, right? This is a sample. I can click on it. This is the animated path and it's gonna open right now. See that? And I can just play it. If I wanted to, I could go ahead and I can save a copy of this, right? Save it, and I can save it to my personal area so that I can edit it, I can just play around, right? I can take it apart. That's one way to learn this. And I'm gonna click and play, right? See this? Take a look at this. This is what you'll be producing. See that? So now it went to the next one. It went to the next slide here, right? And notice that how this is a timeline, right? Remember that we were setting the timeline for each slide, right? For each scene, we were setting the timeline. So if I click here, see this where it is right now. We are on this by month thing, right? So now it's gonna come to this slide here, right? So this is a slideshow. It looks like a slideshow to me, yeah. So the difference is how the slides appear. Oops, sorry. Okay, the difference is how the slides appear, and another difference is that the templates that you use. Okay, you can use a different templates, and then you can also set up the timing. Okay, here I cannot because right now I'm in a view mode. Okay, and then I have to be in edit. I have to be in the edit mode to actually see the timeline. But what you want to do is you want to save a copy of this to yourself, to your area, and then you can play around with this. Okay. Okay. So next thing what you could do is, okay. Next thing what you could do is you can see the sample dashboards. Okay. I'm going to stop this presentation. I'm going to stop. Oops. Okay, it's finished. So now what I'll do is I'm gonna click on the home button and I'm going to choose, oh, it's still playing. Here it is. I can click here to finish this. And then I'll show you where the samples are. I'm gonna click on my content. Okay. And now I'm going to do the, oops. See this? I have to click here, samples. And I have this. So here, this is the data that's used in those samples. And this is a dashboard, right? I have to click on this and I can select the dashboard. You see this? I can look at it and I want you to explore this on your own leisure. It will open up. Well, and go and then save a copy. Oops. You want to save a copy of this to your personal area so that you could actually take apart and see what's going on, right? So here, these are different tabs, right? And it is even added the data player. So you could just see how that works, right? And see what works for you, okay? I'm showing what can be done and what cannot be done, but for you, you just select what works for you for your assignment, okay? So I wanted to challenge yourself. And another thing that I wanted to tell you is that notice that some data sets are really large. If the data set is large, it's going to pull the sample. When it's analyzing the large data sets, it's going to pick random sample and build analysis from it. Okay? So now you know that part, right? Well, first of all, let's see if there are any questions. Well, because one thing is that I wanted to see what questions you all have, because you've been working with this product now for a while, right? I want to see if any of you, if there is something any of you want to see, like any visualization in particular. No? Well, because if you remember last time, I mentioned that if there is anything that you want to see in particular, just go ahead and let me know, and I'll see what we can do, right? So here I just put different ways of doing things, right? Also notice that you can work with the date. There is a set of functions for the dates. Like you can look at the last day of the month or first day of the month, right? For instance, if you have dates in your fields, like in my case, yes, my case, I have dates, right? This is a, I think this is a, oh no. See, now it was added to recent. The reason it appears in recent is because I recently opened. It does not matter that it's sitting in the team folder, right? I recently opened it and it will show here. Now, but what we did here, oh, this is how else you can do this. You can do this. You can click on my content and then you can filter it out. You can filter it out by the object, right? If I want to open, well, if I want to open what I just did today, see this? I click today. So that's one way to find what I was doing. And this is a dashboard we were looking at a while ago, right? So here, okay, now I'm going to go back to the data. And well, for some reason, for unknown reason, it's showing me my content. Well, I want to look at the data, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna unfilter it. Clear all. And now I'm gonna look at the actual, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm supposed to go into the edit mode, right? I'm in the view mode. When I go to the edit mode, then I'm going to see the data. For some reason, I ended up using two data sets here. But let me go ahead, let me open this. See this? And this one here, I've got the date, I think, right? Don't I have the date? Well, if I have the date in here, then I could go ahead and create calculations from the date. See, effective to date. See this? Effective to date. And I can add another calculation, right? I can do this. I can, I click here, right? And I can select create calculation. And, well, if I go here, f of x, I believe I saw it in macros. I think I saw it in the scissors add hours. You can do the add days. I believe I saw it here. But there is a set of calculations. See, this is with the characters. You can convert to lowercase. You can convert to the uppercase here. You can do the sortings. Well, that's a case statement, right? One way to do it is to do here. Now, you could also find it in the common functions. I believe I saw it maybe in the common functions. And then it's under the dates, right? It could be under the dates. But what you could do is you can work with dates. You can take the last day of the month. You can take the first day of the month, and etc. Here it is, right? This is a date. This is a date. So here, well, for instance, you can do first of month, right? This is first of month function. And then here you will just specify your date field, right? So why would you want to do it is that sometimes you want to do the calculation per month, right? If you want to calculate something for months, so you'll probably create a variable, perhaps that tracks the first day of the month, right? And then you can just group by the first day of the month. So that's one reason you want to do it, right? Well, there are multiple reasons, but I'm just showing what you could do. There are a lot of calculations. And then perhaps if I want to look at only March, right, then I can apply my filters accordingly, right? You can work with strings too. Like you can search for a certain part in the string. You can remove parts of the string. And you can even, I believe you can even nest this expression. So this is advanced, right? Expression editor. And I did not show you this stuff. I did not show you much last time because it was too much for the introductory session. But now you've seen this, right? If you used the program for a while, it should be easier, right? Now, I want you guys now to ask questions. Ask questions, or if you don't ask questions, we're in trouble. I'm going to start asking questions, right? Anybody wants to ask questions? So everybody understands what you're gonna do, right? Well, you're going to finish assignment 3, right? Assignment 4 is a continuation of assignment 3. So you'll be reusing the visualizations. You're going to create a tab dashboard. You're going to plan carefully what goes in each tab, right? And I believe if you apply filters here when you export to the story, that's a good question. I want you to find out for me. Will the filters that I apply to my dashboard be transferable to the story, right? I want you guys to find out for me. Okay, probably yes, I would think yes. So you're going to create this, right? Then you're going to export your dashboard as a story. Now, I'm giving you this shortcut only for this assignment, just to compensate for little bit of inconvenience you had last week, okay? So this is a shortcut. You export it straight and then set the animations and transitions. You may need to add a couple slides here and there, but you have a good starting point from this, okay? Other things that I didn't show you is that infographics. But the one main difference is that infographic, you have a single tab. You cannot export infographic as a story, right? It's just a single page, basically, right? So if I have my data, right? If I have my data, it's going to be under my content. And see this, it's getting a little bit cluttered. So you have an option to create a little folders, subfolders, right? And here it is, right? So I'm going to click here and I want to create, I'll click create dashboard, but now I want to create an infographic, and similar, I can select this layout, right? Well, I just want to show you how it looks like. There are a lot of similarities, but when I apply my filter, it's going to be applicable to all visualizations here. So you see the difference now. I don't have tabs, and I cannot save it. Well, I can save it, but I cannot export it as a story, right? I cannot export it as a story. Well, that's the main difference here, okay? So, yeah, so I showed you this. And I mentioned what you're gonna do for the last assignment. Just a recommendation that one of you creates an account, and if you don't want to share your real email, perhaps Gmail account lets you create multiple. You can create more than one Gmail, perhaps. Well, what you could do is you can either share your account with your teammates or create like a group account, and you take turns logging into your group account and add to it, right? Because I don't want you to create 5 copies of the same story, right? In the past semesters, when we used Watson Analytics, it was possible to set up a shared folder for the team. This is no longer an option here. So as a workaround, I'm suggesting that you have something like a team account. Everybody on the team knows your credentials, right? And it will be up to instructors how you want to submit. Whether an instructor wants to have your account credentials and then log into your account and play the stories that you created, whether your instructor wants you to just videotape yourself, well, not videotape, but record, the screen recording. Well, I'll leave this choice to instructors, okay? This is what I'm saying, but I'm just giving the options of what can be done, what cannot be done, okay? But just check with how your instructor and TA, how they decide to do it, okay? All right, so yeah, Steve, is there anything you would like to recommend for this? Steve? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I left myself on mute. No, that was an excellent overview. There's a lot there to absorb. And the best way to absorb it is, as we've talked about, try it. Try. So Yelena has provided you with tons of examples. You can look over the video again, slow it down, take a look at things that are any confusing. but you want to make sure you spend some time with it. Let me see if anybody else has a question in chat.
I do have some
Okay.
questions.
Go ahead.
Not specifically associated with tonight's presentation.
That's fine.
But the idea that that this platform has been available to us for us to be spending all this extra time learning how to use it, that's not really true. This platform was down not all day Saturday, most of the day Sunday.
It's an emergency.
Most of the day or the end of the day on Friday. It was spotty during the week as well, and it was out the previous weekend.
It's an emergency, yes. Well, like if you're from DC area, one year we had a very bad hurricane Isabel, and a lot of people were without power for a week. It happened. It's unforeseen, so to speak, yes. But as far as I remember this, there was a big outage in December. It was planned because they were doing the big upgrade to version 11 for like 1 week. It was planned. But for that, after that, I don't recall any outages for like 2 or 3 months.
Well,
yeah.
So I tried to open a trouble ticket with IBM to get them to either look at the problem, and they say that this demo site is not supported.
Well, yeah, but what we are doing, we are working on it, and we are getting the contact person on our end. So when you run into the difficulties, right, you're gonna be contacting me, and we are trying to work through it. We're trying to get the contact person to work on this. But again, things happen. Well, things happen, like perhaps sometimes unexpectedly. Well, I remember.
Well, I get that.
Too. Yeah.
I mean, but we're given tasks to do with specific deadlines.
Yes.
And that don't include this downtime, and it affects everybody's ability to learn to use the product too. Yeah. So my follow-on question is: will we be using Cognos in future data science courses? Like is Data 620 going to be using Cognos?
Not in.
Or is this the only course?
Well, you have an option in 670 if you want to. Well, because 670 you have a flexibility, I believe. I mean, Steve would probably know more because he's teaching it, but
you will have access to all of the programs that we use in the program as long as you're enrolled in the program. However, this is the only course that uses Cognos Analytics as the main tool.
Okay.
The other courses introduce additional tools, which you may find, anytime you're running in the cloud, there are exigencies, and all of our faculty are told to adjust for those. So hopefully your faculty will be adjusting any due dates that are impacted by technology outages.
Well, it seems to me we could purchase. Like, you see that little buy now button there? I mean, couldn't we be?
Well, we advertise you don't have to buy any software or books in the program.
Well, I've already purchased. I was thinking the university needed to purchase.
Their whole they started about 2 years ago trying to avoid all purchases to keep the cost of the program down.
Right.
And of course, this is our first semester with this program that IBM transitioned to last fall. So there may be a few hiccups, but it'll sort out. Trust me. I mean, obviously they're a huge company and they have a lot of people that can fix things. So, occasionally.
Well, and it does seem that they may have interest in seeing us educated on their platform.
Yes, they do. That's one of the main selling points why they let us have access to their software. And of course, Watson or Cognos Analytics is part of a larger product called Watson Studio.
Right.
Which you may be using parts of that in Data 650.
Oh, I'll tell you this. In this class, we have 2 to 3 weeks for assignment. That's an adjustment already because Data 630 people, they use R and they install our studio. But they have 1 or 2 assignments due every single week. So every single week, you have something due. You have a write-up and the R code due every single week, no exceptions. First week, week 1, end of week 1, you have assignment due. Week 2, you have something due. And in end of week 3, there are 2 assignments due. Every week, something. You don't have as many deliverables here. So they have a discussion, And on top of discussion, 1 or 2 deliverables due. And the reason is because they're not using the cloud application. In 630, the installer studio, it's on a PC. Then they have more assignments. But here you have less assignments. You have more times. I mean, you have more time per assignment. It's because this thing were already taken into consideration. The outages we had last week.
Yelena, there are a couple of questions in the
yes. Let
chat.
Me see.
No, you can't see them. They were sent to me privately.
Oh, okay.
One is I'm trying to see if Cognos does the dispersion or bell curve to see how things are spread out or if normal or not. In other words, skewness. Can we address that at all?
Well, we can see basically here are the available visualizations, that's all. Well, I'm not sure if the bar plot will show it. Nope. I'll have to look at it, but not as far as I know.
No statistics that you know of to measure.
Oh, you can look at the calculations. The only statistics that I can look at is this. I can create calculations.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. Maybe. Well, who knows? Let's see.
There's
summaries.
I don't see skewness on there.
I don't see it either. But oh, wait a minute. Statistical functions. There is more.
I got really confused on taking this course. Instructor is jumping around all over different places, and I don't understand. I take this course as a learning point. I understand it's a kind of first class giving us the data, take whatever, but since week 1 to this time, I really confused to understand what the instructors say in demonstration.
Like can you be specific? Which demonstration?
Like today.
Huh?
As like today, you're jumping around, too much, this point, and then it's not placed, and go the other side. As a beginner.
Jumping around.
Hello, can you hear me?
I hear you.
I think the intent of the demonstration is to show many of the options. The overall purpose, of course, is so you'll be able to create dashboards and stories. So showing all the options, you have to look at those videos again and slow them down if necessary and try some of those features. It's like trying to learn any software package. There are a lot of bells and whistles. The guts of it are to be able to create visualizations and then put those visualizations into a dashboard and then create from the dashboard, create a story so that you can tell the story. As we emphasize throughout, you want to be able to do the analysis, but then you've got to be able to present it very articulately to the decision makers who may not have much of an analytics background. So the purpose in showing you as many features as possible so you see all the possibilities. You can obviously go online and find other videos that may be helpful too, related to Cognos Analytics. And I would encourage you to do so, as well as documents and documentation, etc. We each learn in a different way. I like the way in which Yelena shows many of the features that are available. You may not want to use all those features, but again, the overarching purpose for this presentation was to show you how to create a dashboard and then turn that into a story so you can tell your picture, your story when you're all done. And I think that is what she did. I see another question. Is there an option to export the story to a different format, perhaps to a slideshow presentation?
Oh, well, you can change it. You can change it. Like, let me see. When I was at the story, when I was looking at the story, right? This is my story. And this is an animated path. Well, no, that story is actually, it's a sample out of the box. It's not what I did today. Well, here's an example. This one's something that I created, right? I was playing around with this. Well, as you can see, I played around with stuff too, right? So what you could do is I click on the edit mode and I click on the properties, right? Here are my properties, and I can change it. I can go between the slideshow to the guided journey, right? I can do that, right? I can change my layout. I saved it as a copy and then I changed it, right? So here, in this case, I've got 2 slides, right? So this is something similar. This is similar to what you saw on a agenda slide, right? I created something like this with 3 or 4 slides. So before actually presenting this, I have been playing around with it a lot. So
I think what, the bottom line is when you create the story, you've got a presentation and you can decide how you want to do it in terms of a timeline and what you want to say on each of those, in essence, slides that come up, tabs, if they will. So you just put it into scenes and put your appropriate tabs in it and tell your story. I think once you use it a little bit, you'll see how easy it is to do. And I also think if you look at some of the demonstrations that Elena has in her slides, you'll see that too.
And I put some of the links here too. Well, I think a couple of them are the case studies. So this one is the commission information, and they show the dashboard example. So this one is about the campaign insights, and this is another one. It's just the presentation. And here are some documentation pages.
Yeah, Lena, I was fine with your presentation. However, my question was if we can export the visualization or the dashboard outside of Cognos.
Well, I regret to say that this cannot be done. But if you want to submit it, one way you could do is, well, I'll leave it to your instructor to decide. You could give, if it's a teamwork, right, you could give your instructor the team account credentials and instructor logs in, right? Well, and then checks, that's one way. Another way is for you to use some kind of tool to do the screen capture. It's like you let that thing play, right? And just capture the screen, and then you could send the video. You can turn in the video. Well, you see how your instructor wants you to submit. Check with instructor, because some instructors find it easier to just log into your account and just run it. For some instructors find it easier to watch the video that you turn in. I'll leave that to instructor, okay?
Elena, I just sent you a question that was submitted from Samantha. Can you see it? It's a lengthy statement.
Chat.
Check your chat and see.
I don't see it. Let me see. For some reason, it would not allow me open the chat.
Oh.
It's because I'm sharing, so
yeah,
that's odd.
Stop sharing. Maybe that'll work. Stop the sharing. Let's see whether that works.
So stop. Oh boy. Okay, I see it here right now. Okay, I'm confused as well. It was not structured as well. To go back for reference. Also, last assignment we did data exploration. Okay. Oh, so you believe that I was unable to do the skewness? Yes, because there is no existing visualization to see the skewness. There is no. Well, let's say it this way. We cannot find, there is no tool that I know of that can do everything, right? Each tool has its own limitations. At the moment, there is no way to see the skewness, but it's at the moment, okay? So what you would usually do is, and this is what the 670 people are doing, students doing, they use more than one tool and then put their findings together. You would probably want to use a combination, Tableau and Cognos, right? You can use this too. Or you could do the Spark, you can write the code, and you can use R, right? I'm just giving an example. You would probably want to use more than one tool and then put your findings together. It's not about the tool. It's basically your result interpretation. Yes, I understand that you cannot see the skewness here. You also cannot run the neural network method, right? You cannot. But if you want to run the neural network method, perhaps you're going to write R code, right? You cannot do the random forest method in here, but if you're interested in doing it, you would probably do Python or R. So every tool has its own limitations. So you probably want to use more than one tool. It's impossible to have all capability in a single tool. At least I have not found one. If you find one, let me know. Okay? But
Did you understand the question about the dirty data? I mean, I know we look for outliers, we look for
yes.
missing data, we look for, well, I've been emphasizing lately in my courses, you also want to look for features or variables that may be biased variables. You know, we don't want to use things that are biased or politically sensitive or things like that. So there's a lot of things you want to look over when you use your data set. And some of those variables are not appropriate for use because they have too many missing values, as Yelena pointed out, or they have outliers which need to be accounted for, or they are heavily skewed, which we can't measure at the moment, or they have, again, political bias or gender bias or something like that, or they're just too sensitive. You know, you start using person's political association as a variable to predict something, you got to be very careful with that. So it's a lot of, you could spend a whole semester on data analysis. We don't do that. This is the first course, and what we're trying to show you is an end user tool. This is a tool designed to be used by end users, not only by data scientists. So they keep things fairly simple, and you can see the power just by the examples that you can create a pretty powerful story showing visualizations of what you've done. You can't create a lot of very complex predictive models, as Yelena said, but that will come in other courses in Data 630 and 640. You'll be using tools like SAS Enterprise Miner and so forth. You'll be creating some extremely powerful and complex models. And there, of course, it will matter a lot more about things like skewness and outliers and so forth.
Yeah.
So you got to go a little bit at a time and absorb what you can.
Yes, because this one is more like how to use the application. Well, I promise you that you will see a lot of complex stuff later on. And yeah, the fact that the downtime has already been taken into account because you have like 2 or 3 weeks per assignment, right? But Data 630, the students, they download the RStudio. It's not cloud, right? They're not using cloud application. But then they have something due every single week. There is a deliverable every single week, and sometimes two deliverables. Week 3, it's 2 deliverables. Okay, there is no, I'm unaware of a week when nothing needs to be submitted in an assignment folder, let's say it this way. Every single week, something needs to be submitted in the assignment folder. Okay? Well, but here you don't have a big assignment due every week, right? So the fact that you're working in the cloud was already taken into consideration, right, Steve?
Right. But again, we make adjustments if it becomes onerous.
Yes.
Here's a couple more questions to me. One said, oh, I thought skewness should have been done before doing the analysis. Well, we can't do much with skewness.
Yes.
So that's not a question we've answered it. The answer is we can't do anything with it right now.
Yes.
I don't see any other questions that have not been addressed.
Yeah, but I mean, I appreciate the feedback, and I'm using it to improve it, but well, unfortunately, there are some, so to speak, limitations. There is no software I know of that has everything. And again, it's just the software, right?
I have noticed that the class is a little bit more leisurely paced, and I've been enjoying that, particularly because it's summertime.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yes, I did notice that. Thanks for bringing me back to reality. It's not going to be like that all the time, huh?
Yes. Exactly. Yes, exactly. And I was a student too. I was in GBST. Even since we did not use the cloud applications, we had midterm and final. Yeah, it was totally different story. I had a midterm exam and a final exam in every single class I took, almost every single class. So here is more fun. You've got projects. You have 2 or 3 weeks per assignment. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't see other questions. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Remember, you'll have access to the recording once I send it to your professors who will post it in the classroom. So you'll be able to access it again and go through it in whatever speed it helps to do that. So.
Mhm.